Welcome to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. We believe life is about how we react. All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening today. I am Kyle. That is Sean. Hey, Sean.
How's it going?
Good, dude. We have an incredible interview for everyone today. We are interviewing the Pease brothers. They are an incredible duo. Kyle Pease has cerebral palsy, and Brent Pease, they're both amazing athletes, and they have been an awesome duo in completing a bunch of triathlons, including Ironman Kona together. And they just released a book this summer called Beyond the Finish. It's a story of passion, brotherhood, and relentless determination about their journey with cerebral palsy and triathlon. And it was a really great interview, and we're excited to share it with all of our listeners. So here it is, the interview with Kyle and Brent Pease. All right, so Kyle and Brent, we are so excited to have you today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Of course. Hey, before we get into maybe the journey that you have both been on for the last several years, if not a couple decades together as brothers, tell us a little bit about your personal stories or your personal life right now. Where do you guys live? Are you married and any kids in the picture? Kind of give us a glimpse of who you are right now.
So I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm not married, but I am looking for a woman. Yeah. And I work at a local hospital here in Atlanta. And I work quite a bit.
And that voice right there, that is Kyle, right?
That's correct.
Thank you, Kyle. All right, Brent, tell us a bit about you.
I live in Atlanta as well with my wife and two kids. Got a 4-year-old girl and a 2-year-old boy, and they keep us pretty busy. And then I run the foundation with Kyle full time here in Atlanta.
Oh, wonderful!
Beautiful. All right, so we want to know, we saw your video on CBS News and really, really inspiring. So just for our listeners, Kyle has cerebral palsy, and Kyle and Brent are an incredible duo. And so before we get into your athletic endeavors, what was it like growing up together?
It was a blast. We were real young. Enjoyed hanging out with each other. We grew up with a lot of sports. We would watch Sports Center instead of cartoons. So we really did a whole lot of vacations together as a family, and I was very fortunate enough and my mom and dad never took no for an answer. So we got to go on a lot of cool trips and hike up Yosemite and do a whole bunch of cool stuff.
Nice.
Awesome. So, Brent, okay, so first of all, I think a lot of our listeners and me as well, living with a disability, we kind of, a lot of times I feel like we are very independent, right? But we also realize there are some things that we need to depend on our families for. and our friends. And so, Kyle, can you tell me, first, like, how do you remain independent, and how do you keep the balance of being independent, but also realizing that just practically there are some things that you need other people for?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that I'm very, very independent. You can almost I'm a little stubborn at times because I like to do so much on my own, but with the understanding that I do need help, and that I do rely on my caretakers and my family and my friends to help me out with everyday tasks. So I think it's important that we understand that we all need help, but some stuff varies by the individual case.
Yep. I like that. Good deal. And, Brent, along those same lines, because you obviously fit into the situation of, allowing Kyle to remain independent, but also stepping in at times and being like, look, I need to help out so that you can remain independent. You guys are an incredible team, and so I feel like maybe his independence is yours too. You can feel it. And so how does that play out in your life in helping you guys stay independent?
Well, Kyle's fiercely independent. I mean, he came over by himself to my house to do the interview today, and the only thing he needed help with was I've got one step to get in the house, so he had to pull the ramp out so he could get in. But other than that, as far as getting over here, he did everything by himself. So he took the train and a bus, and that's it. So really now in our adult life, I would tell you Kyle's even more so independent than ever before, and even to the point that he doesn't necessarily rely on help there. I mean, obviously in the racing that we do, it's a totally different component, but and we can certainly get into it. But, really what you see is that there's a lot of physical help that I give Kyle that allows him or gives him a chance to share in the endurance community and endurance sports. But in turn, Kyle gives me a lot of energy and coaching and support, and, even on a sometimes deeply spiritual level between us, just a brotherly connection that without that component, it doesn't matter how physically strong or gifted or talented I am, because without Kyle, we're not able to do the things that we have accomplished together.
So let's get into a little bit of the triathlon stuff. One thing that I was thinking when I was looking at some of your videos and your website and stuff, and this question is more for Kyle, but, also as a team, but so what made you think you could complete an Ironman? Like, that's just crazy. People don't even do that stuff, and or have those thoughts. I mean, even, and then on top of that, you put a disability in the mix, and it just seems like an insane thing to do. What made you think you could even attempt to do something like this?
Well, first of all, it is insane that we're doing this. It's crazy, but I love it. Like I said earlier, I grew up on Sports Center, so I'm a diehard sports fan. And, when Brent did his first Ironman, he invited the entire family to come out and see him race in Louisville, Kentucky. And what I saw that day was my life. I saw people going through so many ups and downs to reach the finish line of the race. But what I loved most was how they pushed their bodies to no limit. And here I am fighting my body every day with the multiple spasms and everything that I have to endure. But I get wanting to show the world that when you put your mind to doing something, anything is possible. And So I wanted to give it a try. And after Brett finished his long race, we sat down to dinner, and I just started asking him a lot of questions. And the last question I asked was, if people in wheelchairs do Ironman? And he said yes.
So a question for you, Brent. When you were stepping out and doing that triathlon and maybe doing some sports on your own, was it on your radar or your agenda to invite your brother out so that maybe he would join you? Was that ever sort of a possibility in your head?
I mean, I was having plenty of fun without him, so.
Sure.
You know, it wasn't on the forefront of our minds, that's for sure. And certainly not as we became adults. I mean, when we were kids, we always wanted to figure out how Kyle could be a part of things. We never figured out how to make it the inclusive experience that it is now. But so, you know, honestly, it was not. It was not something that I said, well, I'm going to do triathlons and endurance sports and figure it out. And then once I have it figured out, then I'll get Kyle involved. It was much more the other way around, that it was something deeply personal for me and something that I was experiencing. And in my experience, and then as Kyle just said, in the experience of all the other competitors, you know, he found something deeply personal in him. And, you know, we've discovered ways in the years since how to be able to share that experience together in a way that doesn't limit Kyle or me, for that matter, in a way that we can really share all of that.
So then I wonder, Brent, when Kyle first asked, hey, you know, can people in wheelchairs do it? What were some of the feelings or thoughts that rushed through your head?
Well, it was an immediate yes, you know, and then the thoughts were mostly just of self-doubt, you know, because once we started really talking and thinking about it, you know, we realized there was definitely ways to do this. In fact, there was examples of people that had tried or done it. And so it was more or less just the self-doubt of how we were to pull the piece off that was just us. So the immediate reaction was to jump at it and say yes, because we had never done anything like that, truly together in the exact same way, with no accommodations for Kyle or for myself.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think I really admire that, and that's the way I try to operate, is like have an idea, throw it out there, and be like, all right, let's go and get it. You know, basically build the plane as we're trying to take off the runway, right? And it sounds like that's what you guys did. You had some amazing mentors that helped you figure out, you know, all the details, but really it was Kyle's initiative and force of will that helped you guys get off the ground, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how many today, you know, middle end of 2019, how many triathlons or endurance events have you guys done together?
So we've done 4 Ironmans, 6 half Ironmans, and a couple of dozen other short course triathlons. So we've probably done between 20 and 25 total. The big ones obviously being the half and full Ironmans.
Absolutely. Can you tell us, you know, and of course I know your book probably centers around this entire journey that you guys are on together. But before we talk about your guys' book, can you tell us how a triathlon works for you two? Like from start to finish, how do you make it happen? How do you complete one of those?
So the first thing I'll say is the Ironman being kind of the crown jewel of the triathlon sporting world is a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and then a 26.2 mile marathon to finish all that off. And to compete that way together with Kyle's specific cerebral palsy, we use an inflatable kayak that weighs between 17 and 30 pounds, depending on which one we're using, and we tie it to my waist and I pull him through the water. Jeez. For the bike, we use a 65-pound 3-wheel bicycle, which helps with Kyle's spasms for me to be able to balance the bike. and Kyle sits up front, and all the gearing and everything is in the back. So I push the pedals and power the bike with my legs. And then for the run, we use actually what a lot of para or quadriplegics will use in wheelchair push rim racing, but it's been slightly modified with some bars and some additional seat backing so that I can push Kyle for the run portion. So that's how we do it, just from a pure, kind of nuts and bolts standpoint. And then we touched on a little bit earlier, Kyle really takes over as the captain of the whole operation once the gun goes off.
That's amazing. So, I know you guys are a huge encouragement to a lot of people who want to do something like this. And, I think it all starts when someone sees that it can be done. And I think that's really amazing because you guys are the ones providing the example. Can you tell us about the people who provided the example to you, who you are more or less following in their footsteps and being like, all right, let's do this? Who helped you guys along the way?
Yeah, I would say that anybody that has been into sports for a while, it was that Dick and Rick Hoyt, their father son duo out of Boston area. They really have paved the way, not only for me, but for all the other disabled athletes that also had to follow their footsteps. And I just got to meet them last week, and it was a huge honor to meet them and pick their brain about certain races and how they did this. So they're huge examples of perseverance.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah. And I've seen them. It was really amazing when the first time I saw their story, and to see you guys, oh my gosh, I was watching your video. We will post it on the notes for this episode. But, to see how fast you're running and, how fast you're swimming and just the scale of it. Holy cow. That's amazing, that you guys can take what the path that they blazed and, take it that much further and just get on it. I love it. We want to ask you about your book because I understand your book, Beyond the Finish, just came out, and it's the story about your childhood and getting into these Ironman triathlons. And so, can you tell us, what compelled you guys to write a book?
I think when we first started the journey, it was definitely a long-term goal of ours, and we wanted the book to end at Kona. So for so long we got a lot of no's into that answer, but when we finally got that yes to go to Hawaii, we completed it shortly after. So we wrote the book ahead of time, but we just waited for Kona to happen. And I think the reason why we wanted to write the book was to give people a look at our lives, not only from me and Brett's perspective, but from the people that know us best, our parents, my twin brother and Brett's wife, of course. And I guess to show people kind of a behind the scenes look at what it takes to get involved in the race and how we get from point A to point B during the race.
Right. Yeah. I bet that gives so many people so much encouragement, from our listeners, and then way, way beyond that. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So,
go ahead, Sean.
Well, no, it's just creating like 4 questions for me. Kyle, you mentioned a twin brother. So how many other siblings are there in your family?
It's just the three of us. Brent is the oldest, and then me and Evan are a couple years younger. Evan used to run with us, but he was a little slow for me, so
Oh man.
he moved up with his career to New York, and he's a huge supporter of what we do.
Awesome.
That seems so special to me that this is a family affair. I love that you guys are able to share these experiences and this entire journey with your parents and each other. That is so special.
Knowing that it's a family affair, I had experience writing a book, and I wrote some stuff about my family. I didn't write anything bad, but I was like, all right, how are they going to take this, right? And so, do you guys have an example of some stuff that you wrote, and you're like, all right, we need to make sure that people are cool with this because we're writing about other people, like in your family and stuff?
Yeah, that was probably the hardest part of the process of the writing. Was trying to do honor to people that really make all this possible, which is our family. And it's a delicate balance that you want to be. We wanted to be vulnerable, and we wanted to be honest, and we wanted to share that story in that manner, but making sure that everybody else was comfortable with the way that we did it. So I really that was kind of what started adding to the book, that you have components from. It's not just Kyle's voice and my voice, that you have our parents, you have my wife, you have our brother, Evan, you have these different perspectives of what was going on behind the scenes from the earliest to the most recent accomplishments. And, it was a very nice balance, and we're actually very proud of the way the whole thing came together.
We understand that all of the proceeds from the book go to benefit the Kyle Pease Foundation. And so, can you tell us about the foundation and what's the goal and what do you guys do?
Well, so when we did our first triathlon together back in 2011, it was a huge experience for Kyle, and his immediate reaction was that other people had to experience this inclusive sporting experience. And so the foundation was born shortly thereafter with a mission to improve the lives of disabled through sports. And in the last 8 years, we've built into an organization that supports more than 75 families a year across 250 finish lines, and everything from 5Ks to Ironmans, and just showing them, that what a lot of people already knew about them, that their fighter spirit and what they're willing to endure and what they're able to endure, that they can share that message and that platform. And as we've said a few times, in a very inclusive way. So, Kyle deserves a lot of credit for his vision of wanting to create that. And we're very proud that the proceeds from the book will go to continue to support that mission and the people that we serve.
That's amazing. So how, for our listeners, how can they find out more, and how might somebody with a disability that's listening right now, how might they benefit from what you guys do?
So I'll let Kyle tell you a little bit more about the benefits, but I'll answer the first part. KylePeaseFoundation.org is the website. You can get links to the book if that's the way you want to support, but you can also see all the different events that we do. And so you can get involved just by simply going to our website, and there's some really good links and resources to be able to sign up to be a part of us and what we do, both as a athlete, as a volunteer, as a donor, as a supporter, or if you just want to read more about the story, of course, we're more than happy to point you in the right direction for the book. But I'll let Kyle share a little bit more about some of the benefits that the families and athletes receive.
The benefits are so amazing to see all these different families that we support, and what they have done, not only for the athlete but for the family too. To see our athletes cross the finish line is amazing. It just go to show people that with you that anything is possible, and to see the smiles on these athletes' faces when they cross the finish line is, I really can't put it into words what that does for the athlete, to give them confidence and to give them hope and to show their message of inclusion or whatever that looks like to them. And for the parents and the families, for them to be the soccer mom or just the big brother out there to support them. You know, so that's the best part for me, is that you know, the families can forget about whatever challenges that they're going through, and they can just focus on being the athlete.
Beautiful. So if people are interested in getting into triathlon, and they have a disability, they would go to your website and contact you guys and be like, "Hey, this is what is going on. How do we get this done?" Is that?
Yeah, and absolutely. And then we pay for everything regardless of need. So it just each situation is pretty individualized. And so in our case, when we first got started, I was already doing triathlon. We had this whole community that jumped in to help us. You know, some families may not have that. Some families may just need some training, some practice, some time to kind of learn how this works. And look, I mean, this, you know, being an endurance athlete is hard for everybody, regardless of abilities or disabilities. It's an endurance event that lasts multiple hours in some cases. And so just helping get that set up, figuring out what the equipment needs are. Our foundation has more than 40 chairs. We have 6 bikes. We've got 7 boats. We've got all sorts of different ways to be able to cater to their needs so that they can get the most out of the endurance experience.
So what's next for Kyle and Brent Pease?
You know, if you'd asked that question 2 years ago, we always had such a quick and easy answer. It was always Kona, because it was something we'd worked so hard on. But I think for right now that we worked so hard for that being able to enjoy that accomplishment, to share that with our book, that's been our Kona this year. And I think at some point we'll be able to sit down and figure out what the next Kona is. But for right now, we're just really proud of what was really a 7-year journey as athletes together, and what culminated in an Ironman World Championship finish and a book, which were both their own Ironmans.
Yeah, I love that. Good stuff. Kyle and Brent Pease, it's been an amazing conversation. Thanks so much. I know there's lots of nuggets of information and inspiration for our listeners. Before we go, how do we find you guys on social media and follow your journey?
So you can, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. The foundation is as well.
So it's Walking with KP on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And then it's Walking with KPZ on Facebook. But if you just go to our website, we've got hyperlinks to all of those channels. So however you digest that social media medium, we've got the information there for you to follow along. And of course, we've got blogs and videos and all sorts of great ways to interact and sharing this with us.
Fantastic.
And you can, of course, sign up as a volunteer athlete there.
Awesome. And one last thing before we go, the book is called Beyond the Finish, and where can we find that book?
So it's on Amazon, and it's got the Audible version as well, Kindle version. So we've got we were very clear with the publisher. We wanted to make sure that all persons would be able to digest our book. So Amazon is really the best place to get it. Of course, most local bookstores will have it as well.
Great. Awesome. Well, Kyle and Brent, thanks so much for being on the Two Disabled Dudes podcast today.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And we love what you guys are doing as well.
Thank you for listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast.
Find us online at twodisableddudes.com, and please subscribe on the iTunes.
Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
And special thanks to our audio producer, Jake Tompkins.
Until next time, keep living with urgency.